Good evening, everybody. Today is Wednesday, June 24th, 2026. The time is 6 p.m. We do have a quorum present, so I'd like to call to order this organizational meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Chittenden Solid Waste District. The meeting has been properly warned and a packet has been issued to all commissioners and alternates and made available to the public. Are there any requests? Well, first item on the agenda is the agenda itself. Are there any requests for changes or additions to the organizational meeting agenda? Hearing none, we will proceed and following the agenda as presented in the packet. Item number 2 on the agenda is the public comment period. Are there any members of the public present in the CSWD meeting room via phone or Zoom who wish to address the Board of Commissioners?
There are no members of the public in attendance.
Very good. Then we'll close the public comment period and move on to item number 3, which is the introduction of new board members and appreciation for those previously serving. Looking at the organizational meeting packet, I did not see, Sarah, any new representatives appointed for any of our member districts. Is that still the case? Member towns?
Yeah, that's still the case as far as we know, as of today.
And there were 2 positions that were not reappointed, I guess, yet at the time of the issuance of the memo. Are you aware of those commissioners either being reappointed or having indicated that they are no longer going to serve?
I don't believe we received any official notice from Charlotte or Huntington, so we're just waiting for that notice from the select board or from the clerks.
So, and I have not heard of any of either of these commissioners stepping down. I do have a question then before we proceed. If you have not received the official reappointment for Charlotte and Huntington, should they be attending this meeting, do they have the ability to vote on board matters? I don't remember our charter if they serve until the vacancy is filled.
I believe that's the wording.
Answer the question.
Yeah, I believe that is how it's worded. Thomas is verifying that commissioners serve until
A replacement is named.
Until the 1st of July also.
Oh.
We talked about it one other time.
So we're just confirming this, right?
Right. Barb, do you know if your select board did take action on your reappointment?
Seen it on the agenda, but I will remind the town administrator of that, and he can put it on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, the understanding is correct. They serve until a new member is appointed and then qualified to serve.
Very good. Well, that satisfies me then. Should either of those commissioners be voting tonight, we have confidence that their votes are indeed valid and authorized. So it seems to me that we have no new board members to introduce and no appreciation to express for those stepping down, but I would express appreciation for all commissioners who currently serve, for those who have re-upped for the next 2 years and those who are continuing to serve for this coming year. And I hope you'd consider continuing to serve when your term is up next June. I think then we're ready to move on to item number 4, which is the meat of the annual organizational meeting. Sarah, you had included the standard, well, I guess before we got into that, we're ready, I think, to go to the election of officers. No need to go through your organizational memo at this point.
Right.
That's correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So we are now ready to enter into the election of officers. And as Sarah has pointed out, we will deal with these individually. As a name is put forward for a position, we'll vote on that and then move on to the next position. The first position to be elected is that of chair. And I have I've had several people ask that if I would be willing to serve again for the coming year, and I accepted that nomination. Are there any other commissioners interested and willing to serve for the position of chair for the coming year? Hearing none, and then I think I would close the nominations and move to voting. Since these are nominations, I believe I don't need a motion or anything like that. We can immediately move to voting. But let me explain the process. If this is not a unanimous vote, we will have to, and since we are hybrid, we will turn to a process of commissioners who are present will vote by paper ballot, and there will be instructions for commissioners attending via Zoom how they would submit their vote.
Right, so commissioners attending by Zoom, if there is a contested election, you will email your selection for each office or for the executive board for your each selection for the executive board to Amy Jewell, who is the secretary. And she will verify receipt of your vote. And Jen Holiday will be the teller, so there will be two people verifying the vote.
So that is in the case of a contested election.
Correct.
There's also the possibility, if it's not a unanimous election, we are under the obligation then to do a roll call vote, which would be a voice vote. I believe those are instructions that I had received from our training about a year ago, Sarah. So that's just points of information. But again, we're back to voting on the position of chair. All those in favor of Paul Roos serving for the coming year as chair of the Board of Commissioners, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions, I will abstain. I say that the vote carries, and I appreciate your support and confidence for serving for another year. The next position up for election is that of vice chair, and Alan Nye has been nominated and is willing to serve for the coming year. Are there any other commissioners who wish to be considered for the position, being nominated for the position of vice chair? Hearing none, I'll close nominations and move immediately to the vote. All those in favor of electing Alan Nye as vice chair of the Board of Commissioners for the coming year, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions?
Abstained, Essex.
I declare the vote in favor of Alan Nye as continuing as vice chair. Thank you very much, Alan. Next position to vote on is that of secretary. No names had been put forward, as you see in your packet, for the position of secretary. However, since the packet was released, I had nominated Paul Stabler to serve in the position of secretary, and he indicated that he would be willing to do that. And I'd point out that Paul Stabler name has also been put forth for treasurer. So if he were to be elected to both positions, he would perform the functions of both secretary and treasurer. That is not an uncommon occurrence in many boards, and it's not an uncommon occurrence for the Board of Commissioners, the Chittenden Solid Waste District. I believe Alan Nye served for many years as the secretary treasurer. So there is precedent for this. First position, though, that we're considering here is that of secretary. And as I indicated, Paul Stabler has been nominated and is willing to serve. Are there any other commissioners who would like to put their name forward for the position of secretary? Hearing none, I'll close the nomination period for the position of secretary. We'll now vote on the position of secretary with the one nominee, and that being Paul Stabler of South Burlington. All those in favor of electing Paul Stabler as secretary for the coming year, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Abstentions?
South Burlington abstains.
Thank you. I declare that Paul Stabler has been elected at the position of secretary for the coming year. Next position is that of treasurer. And again, Paul Stabler has put his name forward and is willing to serve for another year. He has also capably served as the treasurer for the previous year. Are there any other commissioners who wish to put forward their name for consideration as treasurer for the coming year? Hearing none, I'll close the nomination period. We'll move directly to voting. All those in favor of electing Paul Stabler as treasurer of the Board of Commissioners of the Chittenden Solid Waste District for the coming year, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Abstentions?
Abstain, South
Thank you.
Burlington.
I declare that Paul Stabler has been elected treasurer of the Chittenden Solid Waste District for the coming year. Thank you all for being willing to continue to serve for another year. We have a great slate of officers and look forward to working with you for the coming year. Next on the agenda is item 4EB, which is to elect an executive board, which is by charter to consist of 4 commissioners, and the chair is automatically a member of the executive board. We have 4 nominations or self-nominations for the position of executive board. They are Lee Perry of Burlington, Alan Nye of Essex Town, Betsy Perrette of Milton, and Paul Stabler of South Burlington. Are there any other commissioners who wish to put their name forward for consideration or for voting to be a member of the executive board? Hearing none, I'll close the nomination period for the 4 positions of executive board. In the past, we have elected them as a slate of candidates, and we've had that been moved by a commissioner. So I'd welcome a motion to elect the executive board as a slate.
So moved, Essex.
Second, Jericho.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we elect the executive board as a slate. That would consist of Lee Perry, Alan Nye, Betsy Perrette, and Paul Stabler. Is there any discussion on this motion? I think then we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The executive board is elected, consisting of Lee Perry, Alan Nye, Betsy Perrette, and Paul Stabler. Thank you very much for being willing to serve. Betsy is new on the executive board, and I wanted to thank Ken Spencer for serving for the past year. We now are ready to move on to item 4EC, which is to set the full board meeting schedule. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to you, Sarah.
Did we include the schedule in the packet?
We did.
We did.
Yes. So the schedule is included. Sorry, it's not a
For the full board, the executive board, we were waiting on.
Correct. So the executive board will be determined by the members of the executive board. And that can be done, we do that by email. So Paul, Roos, you can send something out in the coming days, copying me in, and we can determine which day of the month and the frequency of the executive board. The full board has been meeting on the 4th Wednesday of the month for many years, and so we would propose that should be the schedule you have in your packet.
Except for the months of November.
Except for the months of November and December, when we tend to meet the 3rd Wednesday due to the holidays that occur in November and December. Thank you, Paul.
Are there any questions about the proposed board meeting schedule? This is very standard, same date, same pattern we followed for many, many years. We do need a motion to adopt this meeting schedule.
So moved, South Burlington.
Seconded, Essex.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the full board meeting schedule as presented in the board packet. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The schedule is adopted, and this is subject to further change and proper warning and publication should there be a need to make any changes, or, as has been our practice in the past, perhaps to adjust our summer meeting schedule. But that is to come. But as of today, this is our official meeting schedule. We are now ready to move on to item 4ED, granting of authority. which is not, there's an explanation of this in the meeting packet. And I
Yes,
can, do you want to paraphrase that, Sarah, for us?
Yep, so this is part of your board duties is to annually reauthorize various authorities. And so it's authority to spend. It'll set interest payments for the rate that we charge our member municipalities in the event that we have an assessment. It continues the fidelity bond for the officers and approves the check signing privileges. And there are motions for each of those items. There are technically six items. If we split out the granting of authority into three separate motions. But I think you can maybe take them as one. You can take them as one.
Okay. So we'll take up item 4D, the granting of authority, which again establishes the authority to bind the district to expenditures. The executive director would have the authority to spend or authorize expenditures up to $50,000. The executive board can approve expenditures up to $100,000. Anything over $100,000 needs to go before the full board for approval. We have a motion to grant those authorities.
So move, South Burlington.
Second Burlington.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to grant the spending authorities as presented in the packet. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? The motion carries and the authorities are granted. Item number E is to set the interest rate for late payment in the unlikely event that member municipalities would be assessed any sums of money to be remitted to the district. And there are currently no assessments, but in the event that there were, we need to set an interest rate for any late payments. And that's what is contained in item E in the board packet. Sarah, any further explanation? Have I done an okay job?
You're doing great. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a motion then to set the interest payment rate at 1% per month or 12% per annum?
So moved, Essex.
Second, South Burlington.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we set the interest rate for late payments for municipalities at the rate of 1% per month or 12% per annum. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? The motion carries. We are moving on then to letter F, continue fidelity bond for officers. Fidelity bond is a type of insurance policy that protects a business or business entity against financial losses due to dishonest or financially fraudulent actions of certain employees, officers, or directors, meaning commissioners, meaning us. So this would authorize a bond to protect against that. I'm ready to entertain a motion, Sarah, unless you had anything else you want to add.
I think it's
Good.
clear in the memo.
So moved, Jericho.
Second Burlington.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we continue the fidelity bond for officers of the district. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? The motion carries. We're on to item 4G, approval of check signing privileges. And this action is a best practice to guard against fraud and to enhance financial accountability. The motion would be to authorize the chair of the Board of Commissioners, the executive director, the director of administration, and the treasurer to sign checks and electronic transfers throughout the upcoming year. And further, any check or electronic transfer greater than $25,000 shall require 2 signatures.
So moved, Essex.
Second, South Burlington.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussion on this motion? Hearing none. All those, I'm sorry, go ahead, Betsy.
Real quick, is this new as a result of the
No.
incident? that happened, or has this always been the policy?
This, as far as I know, that, I'm not sure when the two signatures came into play, but we've always had the approval be re-upped each year by the board. I don't know if this has always been the two signatures, so I'm seeing yes from Paul and Alan that two signatures have always been required on checks of greater than a certain amount. That amount may have changed over the years, but yes, this has always been in place.
So an electronic transfer of $3 million was be exempt from this?
No?
Most likely, there were authorizations to expend the $3 million
Okay, as
payable to reorg.
okay. So it's not just kind of the two signatures on a check. It's just trying to understand how this ties in with what happened.
I guess I'm not so,
So the transfer had two signatures,
it had authorizations, yes.
authorizations. Okay, thank you. That was the only discussion. Thank you.
Any further questions on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? The motion carries, and the check signing privileges are approved. We're now ready to move on to other business. Item number 5, is there any other business to bring before the board at this organizational meeting? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this organizational meeting.
So moved. South Burlington.
Seconded Essex.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this organizational meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I declare it unanimous. We are adjourned, but don't go, please. We're now ready to move on to our regular full board meeting. It is probably going to be a lengthy meeting. I'll give you a heads up that if it does turn out to be that way at some point further into the meeting, I might ask if you would permit us to have a 5-minute recess, stretch our legs. That's just a heads up as we move forward on this. As previously noted, today is Wednesday, June 24th, 2026. The time is now 6:23 p.m. We do have a quorum present, so I would like to call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Chittenden Solid Waste District. First item on the agenda is the agenda itself. Are there any requests for changes or additions to the agenda?
Paul, I just want to review the,
Is this
Oh.
Leslie?
no questions on the
Okay.
agenda.
Very good. Hearing no requests for changes or additions to the agenda, we will follow the agenda as presented in the board packet. Next item on the agenda is the public comment period. Are there any members of the public present? Oh, I'm sorry.
We do
Becky,
have
your
a-
hand is up.
we have a member of the public present via Zoom. Steve, I'm gonna promote you to panel or allow you to talk.
Yes, we're in our public comment period. Could you identify yourself? I know your first name is Steve, and if you wish to address the Board of Commissioners with a question or comment.
Steve's here for the presentation for the brand refresh.
Okay. Good. Are there any other members of the public present who wish to address the Board of Commissioners?
He was invited. I believe it's the same Steve, but we're not sure.
Okay.
Guess we should verify.
Not hearing any requests to address the board, so I'm going to close the public comment period. Move on to item number 3, which is the consent agenda consisting of minutes of the May 12th, May 27th, and June 4th board meetings, program update memos, finance memo, executive director update, legislative update concerning the bottle bill, and the solid waste rulemaking update. Are there any requests to pull any of those items from the consent agenda?
Yes, Paul, I'd like to pull the solid waste rulemaking memo off and hear from staff on that.
Right, that is item 3.6 of the consent agenda. That will be pulled from the consent agenda. Any requests for other items to be pulled from the consent agenda? Hearing none, items 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, and 3.5 will be accepted as part of the consent agenda. And we have removed item 3.6, the solid waste rulemaking update. Paul, I'll give you a chance just to phrase the question that gives staff a chance to respond.
I view this as potentially significant for the district, very helpful. I'm particularly interested in the organics potential for preventing mixing of packaged and non-packaged organics. And then the other thing I'd like to just hear a little more about the PGA, the glass rules, and because those both make me feel like, or I'm hopeful. So I'd like to just have staff present that. Plus, I feel it's good to get this in an open session and on the record. So
That is your question. I'll turn it over to you, Sarah, if you want to ask Jen or whomever could address.
Well, actually, I'm gonna turn to Dan for the organics piece and to Josh for the PGA. So Dan, if you could give an update on. the
Sure.
organics piece.
Yeah, so organics, this has been a long time coming. We've been, A&R has to update their rules on a regular basis. They're quite delayed in that process. And one of the big holdups has been organics. They've been working on rewriting the organics rules now for quite a few years, and we've been actively involved through the whole process. I was on the depackaging stakeholder committee that met a couple of years back, and that sort of, the recommendations out of that shaped what eventually became the suggested rules or the draft rules that have just closed the comment period on, and now we're waiting for their promulgation. But the big changes in that, it was a recommendation from that panel or that stakeholder group, and it was a separation of source separated organics from packaged food. So if you all recall, we have one depackager in Vermont. It is on Avenue B in Williston, and it went in about 5-6 years ago. And when that happened, about 40% of the food that used to come to our facility for composting got redirected to that facility for depackaging or processing and made into a slurry, and then to be sent to anaerobic digestion. So this proposed rule change would disallow the commingling of source separated organics or plate scrapings, as most food waste that we deal with as individuals, commingling of that with packaged food, which might be coming out of a grocery store or food manufacturers. Ben & Jerry's Pints is a big example of what that facility handles on a regular basis. So previously, those could be combined. The problem with combining those is that what might have started as a clean stream of source separated organics or plate scrapings, if everybody's doing the right thing and putting just the food into the bin, is that food could be used for animal feed, it could be used for compost historically, but the minute you mix it in with packaged food, of course, it becomes unsuitable for those things. So the intent from the Agency of Natural Resources was to preserve the quality of source separated organics for higher and better uses, such as feeding animals. A good example would be, for instance, the City Market in Burlington produces a very clean food scrap, and that had been going through this process of depackaging unnecessarily and then going to anaerobic digestion, whereas we think it is much better suited for compost. There's no contaminants in there. It could even be used for animal feed. So this preserves the ability for that to occur. Another big change is that even if they have source separated organics on their hauling route, for instance, this rule says that it's not allowed to go through the depackaging, but instead needs to find a different means of disposal or reuse. So big changes, and it's not big just for Vermont. The whole country is paying very close attention to this rule change because most states who are paying attention to organics at all, it's not all of them, are trying to figure out what to do with depackaging. It's a new entry into the into the organics processing world in the last decade, really. And it's very convenient. Grocers love it, haulers love it because it's so convenient, but it comes at a cost of, lowering the quality of the output, because it's almost impossible to put these materials through this machine that smushes them through a very fine opening, and very high likelihood of fragmentation of whatever plastic might be entering that stream. And so that is the thrust of the organics rule change. There's some minor other pieces to it. One of them is that in addition to not being able to commingle those at the point of the depackager, they can't do that on a hauling route or at the point of generation either. So you can imagine at a grocery store, those that have been using the convenient method for the last 4 or 5 years might have to separate those two streams. So a little bit of inconvenience for them, a little bit of higher cost, but it preserves, not just our facility, but all of the compost facilities in the state that relied on clean source separated organics might have a chance to reutilize those once again for those streams.
Do you have capacity for an increase in the amount of food scraps that come your way?
We do, yeah. It's unclear. There have been changes in what's happened with the quantities of food and where it's been going over the last 5 years since that depackager went into service. So we don't know exactly how many tons are going there that may be diverted, but we do have a fair amount of capacity at the moment, and can make some very quick changes to staffing and scheduling to expand that further. If it got beyond that, we would have to do some more planning to figure out if we could take more than we could do in like a 6-day time period. But yeah, we're anticipating some change and some increased organics headed our way. We don't know how many, but certainly we'll keep you abreast as we find out more details on that.
Right, cool.
And what's the effective date of this?
So the comment period ended on the 19th of this month, so we're almost a week after that. They've indicated that they're going to take a month or two to write the responses to whatever comments came in, and then that document, I don't think they actually get a further comment on that. The next step is it goes to LCAR at the state, which should be a pretty quick turnaround. They have monthly meetings, so theoretically, within a few months, promulgation could be complete, and then there is a 6-month waiting period for many of the organics components, because they wanted to give people enough time to react and change if they needed, generators, haulers, and receiving facilities. So theoretically, within 9 months, I would guess would be the earliest we would see a lot of the organics changes. It could drag out further, as these things tend to do, but hopefully it'll be closer to 9 months and not 19.
On the PGA side of things, currently the statute says that we're allowed to have only 1% of, they call it deleterious materials. It's paper and plastic essentially in our PGA. They're increasing that standard to 5%, but making sure the plastic stays below the 1%. We've had a lot of testing done to say that our plastic stays way below that 1%, so we're not concerned about that. So essentially this allows us to have more paper in our PGA. We've struggled recently to stay under the 1%, so this gives us a little bit of breathing room and buffer. It also allows us to potentially produce more PGA, because certainly in our shoulder seasons, when it starts to get wetter, we're not allowed, we can't physically make PGA in our current setup. And so it gives us more product that we have the potential to sell if a market becomes established. We will pay to get rid of less glass because we will be able to produce more PGA. And it'll just be easier to meet the spec. Essentially, they agreed with us that the paper doesn't really have an effect on any of the proposed uses. Everybody's concerned about plastics and microplastics, which I can appreciate. So that's why they kept that the low percentage of plastics, but essentially acknowledging the challenge in keeping paper out of that material. This was all based on engineering studies that the University of Vermont did. And so they established that there was no real engineering changes when that fraction increased from 1% to 5%. So everybody felt pretty good about allowing that increase to happen.
And what are some of the potential uses of the PGA?
Yeah, I mean, the one that we are, I think, most excited about is for use as a mound sand replacement in septic mound systems. We had a pilot with the state that we were working on the installation plan, and some changes happened at the state, and that sort of fell by the wayside. So we didn't put any pilot mound systems into place this year, but we've re-engaged recently with the state, and are hopeful that next year we'll have that pilot program back up and running. And originally it was for 25 mound systems, so not an insignificant number. And if that goes according to plan, that should take care of all of the PGA we can produce. And there's enough mound systems being put in. If they're proven out, it'll be an effective replacement.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it's great work by staff, all staff that work to push these changes through. So my commendation to you all.
Any further discussion or questions on this item, the solid waste rulemaking update? Bryn, go ahead.
Yeah, I was curious if the state is still using retrack for reporting.
They are.
Is it feasible to get reporting data from the depackager that helps give insights as to what's coming in, what's going out?
Theoretically, I think I talked to the person who oversees some of that recently this week to see if we could get more of that information, and hopefully is the answer. Yeah.
I think the trick to that though is that you don't know how much of that material would qualify to.
I don't think that was my question, is do they differentiate on their reporting between packaged and non? And the guess was that no, they do not, but we haven't verified that.
Especially since a lot of it gets commingled at
Yeah.
the point of collection or generation.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or discussions on item 3.6 of the consent agenda? This was a memo, and the questions that have been asked just further clarified it. I don't believe we need any further action on this. We just accept the report as presented in the consent agenda. And I believe then we're ready to move on to item number 4, which is a resolution of appreciation for Jen Holliday, who is retiring in less than a week now, I believe, retiring from her duties with our district. Sarah, I'm happy to read this resolution, or would you want to do that? But
Either way is fine, whichever you'd like to do, Paul. I have it in front of me, or if you'd like to read it, I'm happy to cede.
I'm going to read it out. Be my pleasure to do that because you'll be doing more talking as the meeting goes on. But, this is a Chittenden Solid Waste District resolution. Whereas Jen Holliday has served the Chittenden Solid Waste District currently as Director of Public Policy and Communications, with previously held positions in compliance, hazardous waste, product stewardship, safety, and waste diversion, and has conducted herself in an outstanding manner for the past 35 years. Whereas she has been a dedicated and conscientious public servant, working continually for the betterment of Chittenden County and, by extension, the state of Vermont. Whereas she has given selflessly of her time and expertise, leading at all levels of the Chittenden Solid Waste District. And whereas she has provided outstanding leadership and guidance to CSWD, the board, Vermont's solid waste management entities, the Northeast region, and through her tenure as president of the Product Stewardship Institute, a national organization that is a leader in promoting product stewardship goals and programs, leadership on at a national level. And whereas she has been instrumental in developing strategies that advance CSWD's goals through policy and program initiatives, legislative action, and state and local government regulations. And whereas she has provided testimony in the legislature on environmental bills that have advanced CSWD's goals through policy and program initiatives, legislative actions, and the state and local government regulations. And whereas she founded and chaired the Vermont Product Stewardship Council, where extended producer responsibility laws are estimated to have saved local governments and taxpayers millions of dollars statewide. And whereas the work she has completed will continue to be used and appreciated in the future projects of the Chittenden Solid Waste District. And therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners, on behalf of the residents and businesses of 18 communities in Chittenden County, hereby convey their sincere appreciation for her exemplary leadership and outstanding service for the past 35 years. And I hope we will adopt this resolution.
So moved, South Burlington.
Second, Jericho.
Thank you very much. I would like to express on behalf of the full board and all of our communities, Jen, again, in plain language, our appreciation for your service, your vision, and your leadership. We will miss you, but wish you the best in your future endeavors and retirement. I'd like to turn it over to other commissioners who have had the pleasure and honor of working with Jen over the past 35 years, if they'd wish to offer any comments.
Yes, I would just say, I've always been so impressed with her effectiveness, all she's done throughout the last 35 years. And I think I've been here for most of those, but anyway, I'm just like in admiration of all you've done, and you've always presented yourself great in meetings, and yeah, you'll be missed, absolutely. So, but I know you have a new person coming in, I believe, which is great. So
Big shoes to fill.
yeah, big shoes to fill. So thank you so much.
Dan, you'd like to make a comment?
Yes, I would like to remember Jen for her wisdom and her tenaciousness, especially as she would deal in that State House. Thank you, Jen.
Barb.
It's just hard for me to believe it's been 35 years since I hired Jen. And when you said that, I'm like, no, that's not bad. But one of the best hires I ever did.
Yes, thank you, Barb. We all appreciate that.
Bryn.
Yeah, I definitely haven't had the pleasure of knowing Jen 35 years, but maybe more like 15. But I can't, there's just so much to be said. You are a visionary in the materials management world, and your impact has definitely had ripple effects across the country. So, your product stewardship is just done wonders for communities, for residents, and municipalities, state governments. So, thank you for all of your work and tenacity. I'll use that word again. Perseverance, resilience, to have that vision and to see it through and to build coalitions around it. But also thank you for just being a really awesome mentor and guide. I was just kind of learning the way of materials management 15 years ago, and it was really great to have you as a resource as I got up to speed. So thanks so much for everything you've done.
Amen.
Thank you for everything you've done for us, Jen. It's been a long ride, but it's been always impressive when you give your updates on the State House stuff that you did down there. Thank you.
Well, we do have this motion in front of us, and I would like to ask us all to vote in the affirmative on this. All those in favor of the resolution of appreciation, please say aye.
Aye.
I'm not going to ask for any no's. I'm going to declaring it unanimous. Thank you very much, Jen.
Thank you, Bob.
Best of luck to you. We are now ready to move on to item number 5E, which is the CSWD brand refresh. And not sure who's going to walk us through this, but I do believe we have some people on hand ready to walk us through it.
And we get to have Jen walk us through one more thing.
Great.
Okay, hopefully Steve M is Steve Crafts from Place Creative, our marketing firm. They have been working for the past year on refreshing our brand at CSWD. There's been a lot of staff were involved. It wasn't just the marketing and communications team. There was representation from operations as well. And we're really excited about this. We will be not launching the rebrand until the MRF is just about commissioned, probably sometime in January before it's commissioned. Next year, that is the time we'll implement a recycle right style campaign that will have our new refreshed brand and talk about the new MRF and materials that are accepted there to make sure that people are doing the right thing and our MRF doesn't get damaged with bowling balls and other weird stuff that people chuck in their lumens. So anyway, I will leave it to Steve to talk about the refresh. It's really impressive.
Are we able to have a screen share here? We can see what's being talked about?
Yeah, he should have.
Steve, I just sent you a promote to panelist request. I think if you accept that, you'll be able to share your screen.
It may not be.
Is it a different?
So this was scheduled for 6:55 and we did not confirm that Steve M is Steve Crafts. So he may not be on.
If he's not on, how about we put this on hold for a few minutes and move on to item number 6E, the customer code of conduct policy, and then return to the brand refresh. I think that would make good use of our time tonight.
Yeah, I'll jump into the customer code of conduct. So staff is bringing this forward for a vote tonight to approve this customer code of conduct. This draft that you see in front of you did go to staff for comment, to the managers, to an attorney, and to our executive board. So some changes were made to that. We have outlined in this policy the expectations of our customers, which I think is great, and it's pretty standard behavior of requesting that they refrain from abusive, offensive, non-discriminatory language, threats, verbal harassment, etc., as noted in there. It also includes the process for resolving disputes and the consequences of violating the policy. So it isn't something that we have had previously. This was brought up by our hazardous waste supervisor, Donnie Kerbanis, and then went to our JEDI, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee to review, and Becky Johnston, who's on this call, presented this as a draft, and then we worked from that draft to make changes. So appreciate the staff input on this. I do want to acknowledge that our public-facing employees in fiscal year 26, we had 330,000 customers. Customer transactions. So we had more customers that didn't have transactions, like the ORF facility or the depot where they're not paying. That's a lot of customer interaction. So I would guess that our public facing employees would say that the vast majority of our customers are very supportive and appreciate the service that we provide. However, there are outliers, which I think any business would experience, and we think it's important to have that process in place, hoping that this will help create a respectful environment for everyone.
Thank you,
Any-
Amy, for that overview.
Any questions?
Paul, Leslie has a question in the room, and then we have Betsy and Bryn.
Thank you. So Leslie, go ahead, and then Betsy and Bryn.
Upon adoption, is this going to be posted at drop-off centers?
Yes,
And
at our facilities,
Is-
and
is there any other vehicle for communicating it to the public?
we will have a page on our website. I don't know if page is the correct word, but it will be on our website. And the executive board suggested some type of QR code and a sign where it could then be, customers would be made aware of it that way too. So we have some plans in place to get this out to, the word out to customers.
I think also you might, no expert on these things, but given that there seems to be an uptick, maybe not so much in Vermont, but certainly nationally in abusive interactions in public, maybe front porch forum or as many channels as you can identify. I just feel like it should be widely publicized, particularly because it's the kind of thing that I think Vermonters are very accepting of and supportive of. So maximizing the channels of communicating is something I would advocate.
I did reach out to our communications manager regarding that, so
Great.
we'll have a
Okay, thank
conversation
you.
about next steps.
I think it was Betsy had her hand up. My screen has changed.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think this is excellent, and it's too bad that we have to have something like this. And I was just curious if there's particular locations where behavior is worse that maybe we should try and work with the town in some way about kind of even more publicity. If anybody has a sense on the drop-off centers or locations where maybe the behavior is worse than in other places. But I think this is great, and I think the way it's written is wonderful. So thank you for your work.
Sure, and we can look at where we feel like there might be more negative interactions than other places. I'm not certain at this point. I know the depot has had some issues, so.
Amy, if I could just jump in, I would say Williston is probably the biggest offender in regard to those negative reactions. That would be my 2 cents.
Thank you, Brian.
Rick, your hand is up.
Is there any noticeable theme that or triggers when people do go off the deep end?
People hate making an appointment at the depot. They really hate making an appointment. It's gotten a lot better now that we're many years out from putting this into place, but from their perspective, the making an appointment and then when we establish the limits of how much you can bring and then hold them to those limits, I mean, that really, that's a frustration of theirs. They can't understand why we can't just bend to their whim. So that's been a challenge, and the staff at the depot are incredibly flexible, but at a point, when they become overloaded with material, it becomes an unsafe thing that they have to justify. And so those are really difficult interactions that they have. That's depot in particular, but if Ryan's still on, I'm not sure if he has any input on some of the interactions at the drop-off centers.
Yeah, I would just add that a lot of it comes down, we do obviously, as you know, have a pretty, strict guidelines for operators on how to price out different loads, and we price by volume. But because to some customers, it might seem like we're just kind of pulling a number out of the air. They get frustrated by that. And sometimes they'll have come in a week before with a similar load and there might be a price difference. And I think a lot of it, you just by human nature, you have people that are frustrated about something else that's going on in their life and they have someone in front of them that they complain to. But I think it would mainly just be on price of loads and operators explaining how we came up with that price. That's where the frustration probably most lies.
And we did have an issue during the height of the pandemic when, some of our services were restricted and we had implemented spacing and masks and things. So there was some issues around those restrictions as well, but that obviously has abated.
Thank you.
I would just offer the comment when this came before the executive board. My concern was, one, certainly we don't want our staff to be at the receiving end. The people at the drop-off centers and the hazardous waste depot, they don't make the rules. We do. They have to enforce them, but it's really not right that they would take the brunt of it. And I was concerned about providing aggrieved customers with an avenue to find more information or to express it to a higher up. And that kind of led to the thought of a QR code, perhaps even a handout, something like that. If you've got an issue, I think there should always be an avenue that an aggrieved customer ought to be able to follow to receive some explanation, if not total satisfaction, and take the pressure off of that frontline worker who is really not in a position, and it's unfairly in that position. So I just wanted to share that.
Paul, if I could just touch on that, basically they have, I'm that person, and every drop-off center has my business card. And we've, especially as some of these situations have become a little bit more heated, they, without hesitation, once they've kind of hit that point where doesn't seem like any positive way to move forward, they say, here's our manager, please give him a call. And so I field those calls, and I completely agree with you. They deal with customers, 8 hours a day. I could definitely take the burden of all the super angry ones. So that's no problem. That's kind of how we're working with it. But I do love the QR code idea as well.
Great. Rick, I'm going to move over to Bryn. Your hand is still up, Rick. I don't know if it just needs to come down, but Bryn, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I was curious if, as part of the drafting and review process, if staff looked at other municipalities to see if they have a similar code of conduct and how they rolled it out, how they drafted it, how it was received by patrons.
We did do an internet search and sort of looked at different policies, but we didn't do anything in terms of that I'm aware of. Jedi, not completely certain of, but where we went into like individual town within Chittenden County to see what was done. We did not do that.
And it hasn't come up during any of your solid waste manager meetings?
You mean the
like a code of
statewide
conduct?
district? Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, district managers meetings? No. Okay. Just curious.
So we're, staff is looking for a motion to adopt this code of conduct policy tonight. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we have the wording of that customer code of conduct policy in the board packet.
We actually don't. It's just to approve the customer code of conduct policy as presented.
So moved, Essex.
Second, South Burlington.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the customer code of conduct policy as presented in the board packet. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions, the motion carries. Thank you very much for the work you've done, and I think it's great to involve staff in bringing this forward to us. Everybody has some ownership in this. I think then we were ready to move back to item number 5E, which is the CSWD brand refresh. And I'll turn it back over, I guess, to, was it Jen? You were
Yep.
leading
Hi.
us through that?
Hi, Steve.
Jen.
I did already introduce you, everyone, and talked a little bit about the project. And I assume Becky has made you a panelist now, so that you can share your screen.
Yeah.
And yeah, so again, this is Steve Crafts. He's from Place Creative. They're our marketing firm that have been working on this brand refresh with some data to guide them, and we're very excited about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. And thank all of you. The team at Place has really enjoyed working with the CSWD team. And thank all of you on this board and involved for the service that you're doing for our community in Vermont and globally. So yeah, as Jen mentioned, we embarked on a brand refresh with the CSWD team, probably starting, gosh, well, several months ago. And it started with some facilitated workshops, research, also looking through previous research. And as we've been working with the CSWD team this year, also getting even more survey research back via Meta. When we did our brand focus workshop with the group, we did that to better understand the brand and how Vermonters think about waste management, what drives their behaviors. And there were some things that kept bubbling up. Certainly the fact that Vermonters and people in Chittenden County care about the environment. Certainly the fact that when there's confusion around how to handle waste, it can block action, of course. So simplicity and education are key, and making things easy for Vermonters to do the right thing and understanding are also really key drivers. Back on the brand, we established what we call brand pillars. And these are kind of foundational aspects and insights that began to emerge and ultimately shape the brand pillars and how we guide the messaging and visuals. And there were some core things. These were 6 things that rose to the top. The fact that CSWD helps Vermonters help the environment. The fact that CSWD leads the way in waste reduction. CSWD helps you make the most of your waste. And through their programs and work in schools and in the community, CSWD informs and inspires. CSWD is powered by Vermonters. Everyday actions make a big impact. And CSWD is Chittenden County's one-stop waste resource. So as we worked through those, we also proposed some strategic brand considerations. One, we came to the realization that evolving and refreshing that identity to really match your mission was important. The fact that CSWD is innovative, forward-thinking, and an environmental leader, we wanted to bring that to the forefront. We also visually wanted to show the Vermont that we're protecting the environment in this place that we share and that Vermonters care so much about. And finally, we wanted to bring humanity in by highlighting the people behind the bins and the work they do, your staff, your crew. And so we developed the new brand positioning, CSWD, A Greener Vermont Starts Here. And the idea is that CSWD is a place where smarter waste management, recycling, and diversion makes a difference. And we wanted to really celebrate the people doing this work too, people who are making a difference. We also like the fact that a greener Vermont starts here speaks to the drop-off centers as a location, and that can help alleviate confusion around, oh, are you a hauler? No, we're the place you go to, and we'll take care of what's left. So CSWD, a greener Vermont starts here. And we thought that making an environmental impact can start with the smallest everyday actions, like how you handle your waste. When you start at CSWD, we find ways to turn your waste into work. Food scraps become nutrient-rich compost. Recycling becomes new products. And solid waste is diverted from Vermont's only landfill. And all you have to do is start here. Drop by one of our 6 convenient drop-off centers and we'll take care of the rest. We're convenient, highly cost-effective, simple way to make a positive environmental impact. Because at CSWD, a greener Vermont starts here. So we also really wanted to show the people on your team, so celebrating who they are, putting a face to the hardworking people who are helping Vermont's environment. So we conducted some photo shoots. The team was great. And we also wanted to show the change in action with composting. Also getting in imagery of this landscape and environment that we all share and really cherish. So CSWD, a greener Vermont starts here. Again, photography. Eventually, and as we're working, this is all rolling out into web, print, digital. It will help anchor future communications. The new mark and identity is wearable, identifiable. It's a refresh of the old mark, but it sort of takes you a little bit. There were some comments around the old mark sort of feeling perhaps like a transit provider for some reason. So we wanted to still feel like a municipality, but we wanted something that people would be proud to wear, that felt forward-thinking, forward-looking, and spoke to the environment in the mountain shape. Here's that final mark. So that's it. I was told I have 10 minutes and I think I'm 1 minute over. So thank you, Jen and Sarah.
Great. Yes, go ahead, Alan.
Can we get an explanation of the logo?
Yeah, the logo, it's a bit of an evolution that picks up on the arrow. The mountain shape speaks towards the environment, our mountain landscape that many of us look towards. The round shape speaks towards, obviously, that closed loop, the recycling concept, and the arrow swinging around. We kept the type clean and simple so that it wasn't over stylized and was adaptable. And also we wanted a mark that, was really wearable. So if you see, we tested it, we stress tested it in a number of situations, embroidery on hats, on jackets. I guess it's not really describing the logo, but we wanted it to be a logo people would feel comfortable wearing, right? People who work there, but even other people. I'd actually wear a jacket if you guys did some nice jackets of this.
Yeah, so it was to kind of, continue to reflect Chasing Arrow without doing the Mobius, right? That Chasing Arrow has been done to death, but it's kind of a harkening back, and again, it's hinting at that circularity and returning things to the earth, returning things to use, that kind of a.
The other thing I will point out about the selection and the color is that we wanted to stand apart very clearly from Casella. We are it's very common for us to be
Confused, yeah.
I'm confused. Yeah, so this logo, the colors looks nothing like Casella.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. That was a great point.
Bryn, go
Barb
ahead, your
had-
hand's up.
Well, I think Barb had her hand up first and then Bryn. Barb, you're muted?
So this is great. It really looks wonderful. I like the logo. My only question is where does reduction, and I know that CSWD, if we reduce it, CSWD doesn't get it. However, it still has to be a focus, I think, for CSWD. So where is that fitting into this?
I would be happy to speak to that. Yeah, I mean, the examples that Steve used was more about putting, bring your waste to us and we'll do more with it. It's a really good point, Barb. This logo and the tagline fits very well with all that messaging on waste reduction as well. And as Steve had pointed out, we want people to see us as the waste resource. And making less of it through waste reduction and prevention will be part of that messaging.
I think an example too for what we say at Greener Vermont, we can point to more things like non-toxic alternatives to HHW, for example, and things where we can talk about reducing that your waste in general is going to make Vermont a healthier place. And again, the mountains just echoing that deep connection to the environment, and certainly waste reduction it's critical. It's the first thing we need to focus on.
Yeah, I'd also say the tagline is something that is adaptable in terms of our narrative, in terms of saying a greener Vermont starts here, it starts with you, it starts today. So we can talk to where it starts here could be in your kitchen also, right? Diverting food scraps, or in your garage, properly handling paint, like toxic stuff. So that's a great point with reduction. And as this rolls out, we built it to certainly have legs that could support the different aspects of what you do and what you help Vermonters do.
Bryn, go ahead, and then Lauren.
Thanks. I'm curious what, I love that you took this out to the DOCs. Did you interact with any of the, DOC users while you were doing the photo shoots, or just to get some feedback from folks in the community that frequent our facilities?
Yep, certainly as part of the process, like we, our CSWD users ourselves, being from Chittenden County, our team, we certainly also in our food scrap surveys, we're hearing from the community. So certainly interaction. It wasn't a deep, I wouldn't say it was a quantitative type of experience, except for the surveys, which actually received several thousand responses.
Yeah, I wanted to just point out at the very beginning of this process, working with Place, they reviewed our household survey that was done at the end of 2024. And one of the big takeaways from that survey was, which was something internally we had disagreements about, was that over 80% of the folks that took the survey were concerned about the environment and recycling and other waste management activities were ways that they could help the environment. And they also overwhelmingly commented positively about how great our staff and our facilities are. They really appreciated our staff. And so pulling that out, that really, we felt like this is gonna resonate with definitely the population at large, and probably in particular, even more so the facility users.
Great. Yeah, I guess I was just more thinking about not the why are we going through this process and the the reasoning behind like the selection. It was more curious if you had while you were on site doing the photo shoot, if folks were nearby that said like, oh, I like the new logo, or just like anecdotally if you had received any feedback. But
it hasn't launched yet.
The logos are just transposed on this, that they don't exist
Photoshop.
on these jackets.
Okay, it may, from the sound of it, it sounded like you were on site doing photo shoots with the logo. So I wasn't sure if you'd already.
Thank you. Yeah, those are, I will let my team know what a good job they did photoshopping the logos on there. They look believable.
Yeah.
No, they were, that was their regular wear, and we added them. When we were working with your team that day, we were focused on working with them. We didn't have time to really speak to the public on those occasions.
And Paul, with one follow-up question,
Go ahead.
if you're offloading any older textiles that are branded, I'd happily accept some.
And
I have some, Bryn.
All right, I'll see you next week, Jen.
I do have
We'll Photoshop them for you.
That does bring up a good point though, and I don't know if Lauren, you were gonna ask this question or not, but this will be a slow rollout, right? So the intention is not to immediately replace all of our wearables, all of our hats, all of our branded everything, but as we need to place new orders over time, to be rolling that out, because again, we have plenty of clothing and textiles and hats and jackets that still have great use left in them. So it would not fit with our values or our mission to throw this stuff away just for the sake of a new logo. But as we need to reorder, whether that's brochures or hats or jackets or PPE, we'll reorder with the new logo.
Lauren, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate that staff is highlighted here. First, I think they're our biggest asset. There's so much knowledge, historical knowledge in the organization that really it's so impactful every time I visit a location. And as you mentioned, it's often the first thing that people say in surveys. So I'm really glad that we're talking that up. And second, I am not one, but marketing experts that I know say that kind of like in this world of scrolling and computer generated imagery, that imagery of humans is really impactful and actually like stops people from scrolling and engages them for longer periods of time. So I'm really happy to see this. And yeah, thanks. Looks great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
I wanted to make 3 positive comments here. I really like the logo. I mean, just, a picture's worth 1,000 words. When I look at that, it really jumps out. I see a mountain and, these are the Green Mountains, that just jumps right out. That circularity arrow reinforces that. But I think it really clicks. Secondarily, I like all of the green safety vests just in all your presentation. It just reinforces the green, which is great. And the third comment is, the Greener Vermont starts here. To me, that kind of flips waste on its head, or flips it around. To me, waste is usually at the end. It's stuff that's used up, thrown away at the end of a process or at the end of the life of the product. And here, I think you're making a really important message that if we're to manage our waste, it's at the beginning. And managing it starts here, and drilling that into all of our consciousness is a really valuable thing.
And Paul, that's a great point, because a lot of the times, I think for most of us, what we care about is putting our material at the curb or in the compactor or the bins. That's kind of the end of our conversation, right? We just want to go away, and yet there's a whole world beyond, right? So it's highlighting that, no, there's more to it, much more to it, and we are the experts, and we are folks who will manage this well and properly, and there's so much more beyond the bin, which is, just to get people to think more about that as well. And Paul Lee had a comment as well.
Yeah,
Sure, go ahead.
I really like the logo. And really stands out. Is it gonna further expand to the facilities and maybe the vehicles and?
In time, yes, yeah, so the first rollout on a facility will be the MRF. So that's the first opportunity, and because we need a new sign for that building anyway. So that'll be kind of the official launch of that. And then again, as we need to replace things, we need to, put our logo on the side of the truck, we'll get a new truck, it'll be the new logo.
Will it be a green truck?
Ah,
I'm just thinking, if you want to
question.
differentiate yourself from Casella, they got a lot of weight.
That's true, I hadn't thought of that.
Your roll-off trucks, maybe.
Right.
Something like that.
Right, well, good, and we have, the grayscale, we have the reverse, the white, so we do have multiple ways that we can apply. And that's one of the things we liked about this too, it's not a complicated, overly complex logo, so it can represent visually in many different applications, which was
I think it really
important.
stand out on equipment.
Yeah.
Especially in a big truck,
Yes.
the roll-offs.
Betsy, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to join with everybody's the positive feedback. I think it looks great. I think it's so smart to go with a different color, the green color, to get away from the blue, which was confusing with Casella. And I like that the logo is green and everything is green, which is sort of like reiterating the tagline, a greener Vermont. And then the green to me also suggests like a green light, like go. So I like the whole campaign. I like everything about it, and I appreciate kind of you're reading the survey results and sort of taking all that to heart. And it just looks great. And if there's going to be a merch button on the website, I'll buy one of these hats. Thank you.
Thanks,
Betsy.
So again, just I guess to wrap that up, you were looking for feedback from the board on this, and you'll take it under advisement. And we've heard again about a soft rollout. Great. Any other discussion on this presentation? All right, I'd like to keep things moving on a good pace. So I would say now we're ready for. Yes, thank you, Steve. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, everybody. Let's move on to item number 7, which is the Community Cleanup Fund. And there's a memo in the board packet. And I don't know if Joey's here to walk us through this, Sarah, or?
Joey is here, yes.
Great.
Okay, so I am, as everyone knows, newer to running the outreach team, and as such, just been kind of taking inventory of all the things we have here at CSWD and all the outreach that we do. One of the things I noticed was the Community Cleanup Fund, which is an amazing program that we have. There's almost $100,000 in there. Each town has a proportion of money based on their population that gets refreshed every year. Just as a reminder, I think it used to be, it just keeps expanding and getting bigger and bigger, but as it exists now, it just refreshes every year. And I noticed that only 9% of those funds were used in this current fiscal year. So my proposal kind of articulation, there's nothing to approve really, but it's more the outreach team is going to plan to take a more active role in helping the board members find projects and navigate getting those projects implemented. It's kind of a complicated process in that we can only pay the town the grant money once it goes through the approval process, but then the town would have to pay potentially a third party. So there's, first of all, the town would then need to budget that money to go out the door in the beginning of their fiscal year. So if someone's not on top of that, it doesn't happen. So if there's a project, the town doesn't have the funding in their budget, it won't happen. And if the board members aren't keen on or don't know exactly what's going on in their town for a specific need, as outreach team, they're on the ground, they're seeing all the things, we could bring that to you. So kind of what I'm presenting here is I will be the board's liaison for your community cleanup fund. So if you have a project, you can bring it to me and I'm happy to help get that through the process. Alternatively, if we find something that we think is worth spending money on, we'll bring it to you as the board member. And if you approve it, then we'll help move it through that process. Perfect example today is Bryn. I hope that all made sense. So timing couldn't have been better as we navigated that internally in the office, like how that should go. So historically, it's just gone directly to finance. But again, it's such a complicated process that we figured it made more sense to have the folks on the ground outside doing that stuff.
Just have a little bit more support from staff for you all. So Paul, we had Betsy, Rick,
Yep.
and then Alan.
Okay, we'll go in that order. Go ahead, Betsy.
Okay, so when I read the memo, I thought this is great. Kind of working with folks to kind of help identify projects. But then when I was looking at the procedures, I felt like it was putting like more kind of bureaucratic, like, I don't know, obstacles in the way. And so since I've become commissioner, I've helped with 3 of these projects over the past year. And it looks like, if I'm reading this correctly, Joey, you kind of want, before we proceed, to kind of get permission from you about a project, and then you approve it, and then we go. And
so I just want to jump in and make sure it's
Okay.
clear. I'm not making any changes to the current procedure as it's written. So in the community cleanup fund procedure and guidelines, I'm not making any changes. It's as it's existed. The only thing I'm changing is just Outreach's role and me being a liaison to the community and to the board members. So
Okay, so on page 2, under project proposal and fund dispersal procedures, it says the town determines if a cleanup project is eligible. So that's the same. Then it says the town contacts and summarizes and submits the cleanup project via the online form with cost estimates. So we've never done that part. We basically do the project, then we complete the project, then the town issues the check, and then we submit to you all for reimbursement. That's
Yeah,
the part that's different for us anyway in Milton.
Yeah, and it should, the form should be filled out ahead of time. And it's more to just kind of give the finance team, or in this case it would be Joey, the heads up that a project is in the works. Just on the off chance that it isn't something that would be suitable for the use of the funds, and which has become much more flexible over the years, or to make sure that that you have enough money in your bank, because sometimes the projects are larger than what you may have available. That's not as much of a problem now that basically you've got 3 years lumped into one and you get the same amount every year. It used to be more of a problem when you would only get maybe $500 a year and you maybe had to save up 3 years worth. So that's less of a problem of the towns not being aware that you have enough money, but sometimes it does happen. So it should go in the order that the procedure is here. We may have been accommodating other folks who missed that step and said, fill this form in after the fact, but it really should be, here's the heads up. And it's for those 2 checks. It's, do you have enough money? And is it potentially a project that really isn't waste reduction, clearly waste reduction, so.
Okay, yeah, because our finance folks in the town, I mean, they track, so they have it as a line item, and so we're just deducting, so we know that piece of it.
Perfect.
So I guess when I looked at the existing guidelines, we just have missed that part about getting kind of preliminary. But all of our requests we've been, reimbursed, so.
Yeah, it's it really is more, again, just to know kind of what's in the pipeline so that we're tracking it as well. So it's not like a surprise. We can know, oh, okay, Milton has this project that is lined up for March, so we reasonably think we'll be reimbursing in April or December or, you know, whatever it might be, is to help us just to kind of understand that flow better.
Okay, and then just a follow-up is, have there been problems where a town has approved a project and reimbursed somebody, and then the town submits, and then you all say, oh, no, this isn't within the guidelines, and the town doesn't get reimbursed?
Every now and then, it hasn't happened in a while. It
Okay.
has over the years, but by kind of expanding what is considered waste reduction, waste prevention, that has gotten to be less and less of an issue. Years ago, that used to be more of a problem, but it's not
Okay.
really so much now.
All right, thank you.
Rick and then Bryn.
So I have, I'm in touch with the town leadership every year about this and tend to start early in the fiscal year and remind them that they have these funds available, offer some feedback. And the few projects that we've actually done under this, I've sometimes walked them through the paperwork. I feel like the process itself is pretty straightforward, but I'm not sure that the town perceives it as straightforward. I find it's like pulling teeth to get Heinsberg to take on one of these projects. So we often don't wind up using the money, even if there are things that in principle we could perhaps use them for. So so I'm glad to see this going in place. I don't think there's any problem with the process as it is now. But I would urge you, Joey, and your crew to figure out if there's a way that you can break some of the log jams at the town level. And perhaps maybe they perceive it as being something that's harder to do than it actually is, because I think the barrier to entry is really pretty low as it stands right now. It's just not perceived that way, it doesn't seem like.
One of the things too, Rick, kind of to that, and I'm glad to hear that you know, you're talking to your folks early on. Joey or his team, we're happy to come and give a short presentation about this earlier in the year, right? So maybe it's a presentation that someone goes and gives in September before your town is thinking about their budget. And so to kind of bring that a little bit forward, and it's always a great idea to come see you all anyway, not just once a year at the budget time. So we offer that out to you as well. We're happy to come talk to you about this or.
Yeah, the hope is to really get in touch with towns ahead of time to have that line item in their budget so that when we present you or them with a project, they can say, oh, we already have funding for that. How
Good to
great.
go.
Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bryn.
Yeah, I think in terms of having kind of a pre-approval stage, it's helpful, especially if you're looking to buy containers and go over like the best practices for, you know, color selection, whether or not they're attached or detached containers, labeling. So some of that can be exceptionally helpful for during that pre-approval step, if that's something that, you know, folks are looking into, because there can be more back and forth on that side of things. But otherwise, I agree that I think the process has been pretty smooth and seamless from my experience as well. So really appreciate all the work the staff have done to make it as easy as it has been and to, you know, expand and be more flexible after feedback over the years. So just kudos to you all for making improvements there.
Thanks, Bryn. Lauren and then Barb.
Yeah, I'm part of the Colchester Conservation Commission, and we've been talking about doing, I don't know, similar to like a green up day, but in the fall. And I am having a hard time like brainstorming what that might look like, especially from like a human power standpoint, because people know about green up day in the spring, but I don't fully know how to motivate people to do that in the fall, although I think it's a great idea. And so this conversation has kind of highlighted to me, Joey, I would love for you or one of your team members to come speak to us as a conservation commission and brainstorm some ideas of things that we could do to encourage that person power or yeah, just ideas that other people have done that have been impactful. I know we're really concerned about pollution in the lake, for instance. And so, yeah, would just like to hear some ideas of ways that we can do that. So thanks for offering your support on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of a perfect example of like another reason I think it's good for outreach to have a little more involvement in this as the subject experts. Like we're kind of on the ground more, seeing those things. So we can go to Colchester and be like, oh, actually, this is the exact thing we've already been thinking about there, and it might align perfectly with what you're trying to do.
Paul, Leslie's also had her hand up, so just FYI.
Okay, I acknowledge Barb and then we'll go to Leslie.
Meeting last year, we did 2 of them, and what we did is one was our Conservation Commission, which I'm part of, and I basically fronted the money for that one, for the cleanup. It was tires. And then the town paid me back, no problem, and they have no problem with that. And the other one was a neighborhood cleanup, and the neighbors paid, and they actually happened to be the chair of our select board. The town reimbursed her. So I think that there's a lot of different ways that this can work. I mean, that might not be the most advantageous for people, but if you really can do that, go ahead and do it that way. Your town treasurers are wonderful at just getting you reimbursed.
And that's kind of one of the awkward elements of this fund that I noted, in that when a non-town, like we can use this money for non-town funded things, but we can only pay the town, and then the town has to pay the third party. So that's where we just want to make sure everyone understands how that all works as it goes out.
Yep. So Paul, we have Leslie and then Alan.
Okay, go ahead.
So
Thank you.
I wanted to welcome the idea of the outreach folks reaching out to our towns, hopefully, and copying us in on your communications, because in Jericho, I've made a couple of efforts to try to figure out a good use for the funds, and I haven't had good ideas. I mean, we had one, so we really need people who have a sense of the range of possibilities to come and have a look and work with us. And then I'm happy to work with either the people on the Conservation Commission or the Town Council, the Select Board.
Great.
And Alan.
2 items. One is that even though you may not use the money, I go see the select board 2 or 3 times a year. And I bring up the community cleanup funds, and it leaves them with a very positive feeling for the district. I mean, I said, here's this money. The other is, I don't know if Barb is aware, but, or Betsy is aware, but the biggest out of the box thing that the district did is we allowed Milton to get 3 years of their money in 1 year when they were doing the big tire cleanup there near McDonald's. So we stepped way out of the normal box to assist the town with respect to that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Any further discussion on the Community Cleanup Fund? I think you've heard loud and clear. We really like the idea of you being proactive and helping us out in our town. So I'm looking forward to that very much. We are now ready to move on to item 8 on the agenda, which is an executive session for contract negotiations and legal matters.
And Paul, do you want to take a break first?
Yes, I guess we should take our break and then have the motion to enter into executive session. So it is, I mean, I'd like to keep us on a tight schedule. Is 5 minutes okay? It's 7:39 now, and we re-meet at 7:45.
Recording stopped.
I don't know, Skunk Hollow Road.
Huh?
Skunk Hollow Road, you could put it all into one house, coming up the hill on the left.
No, well, no, and there's a trashy house on Brown Street. But that's a private house, and in fact, when Michelle was here, she lived in Jericho. We talked about trying to,
Where,
talked
where,
about
there's that one,
on the
perfect.
corner of Morgan, just beyond the corner of Morgan Road.
I'm trying to Florida with the Morgan is. Oh, is that right?
Packard on one side and
Oh,
Morgan on the
yeah.
other, going, towards the traffic
Oh,
light.
yeah.
On the right, and it's a trashed out house, and
Yeah.
the people who live there
Yeah,
just
sit on the
don't
other
wanna,
side.
they're happy,
Yeah.
it's a private property, it's, it's their business.
Oh, these are.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's an interesting thing, thinking about Jericho specifically, like where you could, maybe something, maybe more, I haven't really even noticed what the.
That's what I'm saying, I need the experts to come give me
Yeah.
some ideas.
Joey says he's got ideas.
Yeah.
The house that had a yurt up in the woods for a while, it's one of the first houses on the left if you're coming from River.
Oh, yeah, well, there's one with all kinds of
That-
cars and trucks
Yeah,
and
yeah,
junk.
so much.
Yeah, but
They-
I mean, it's the same,
Yeah.
same kind of situation, it's, hillbilly, whatever.
They've actually done quite a bit of cleanup there, but you can barely tell. They've taken loads and loads and loads out with roller containers and still.
But, when it's a private
Yeah.
property, it's. The only time, I've been able to get one was when this is years ago now, the, town administrator was made aware of a very elderly person who had old oil drums, rusting, old equipment on her property, and asked her, and that worked out fine. But, that was an entirely different kind of situation.
Do you ever think you would have a resolution read in your honor? What? Do you ever think you'd have a resolution read in your honor?
I was gonna ask if we've done many in the past.
A couple, not been very utilized.
Or, hear me out,
We had a
tattoo.
There's several.
Way too long.
It's like
Yeah, but you have their whole
barely-
back.
business
Okay.
and
It's on Route 15,
So,
near
we used
the
to
elementary school and post office.
Oh, yeah.
There are a couple,
we
but
used something
their
for.
property is tidy.
Yeah, right.
I think
The houses are clearly.
Seen Marty
wrecked,
lately?
but they don't have
Some, and he said, oh, he's gotta reach out to you, he wants to get together, and I said, I'll put it together, and he says, oh, what are you inviting yourself? I said, why not?
Yeah.
Very good, yeah. Is he going into work a little bit?
No, he's,
Not at all.
yeah.
Can we use it for a parking lot?
And I think
for,
his
We
firm
could
is
suggest
looking to
place
move,
there.
so he's.
Not a good idea. Trash cans.
Well, no, they're moving to somewhere else.
Huh.
He sent me a
I would solve all the town's
to see if
problems.
I knew anybody that would be interested in this space. But,
Private party to pay for it, reimbursement to town.
A lot of whiners in this world.
Well, I don't know, if I lived on that road, I guess,
I guess
might join.
Sienkiewicz, Alvarez.
Oh, I know.
The amount of people driving there,
Sienkiewicz
turning
is
it around
moving
to
to
driveways
Chase.
all, and sun shining.
But
They
he's
had-
out.
They have the best administrative assistant. They ever got. Okay.
All right.
Mona,
Right.
I think it was, she was the greatest person.
Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
little bit of work for me with, just the
I
facade of
think
my
it
house.
depends entirely on the brand
House
of the
that-
tea bag.
that was built in
You
1970.
can get tea bags, including
New
high-end
construction
organic tea bags that are
engineer
plastic
moved from
bags.
Princeton to use
Definitely.
Do those, they don't dump us those.
They
But
moved
the other
in.
ones are just a paper filter, paper similar to coffee
40 plus
filter, and
years.
there's metal staple and cut off thing.
And he's
Hey.
and the only thing is new linoleum in the kitchen and new
But
appliances.
those are just,
Everything else, even the skin
Sorry to
coat,
interrupt. Get a tea infuser.
Yes, she has that too.
Carpet. We compost in the home. The metal staple rusts so quickly.
Oh, it
And
does.
just turns into iron. Well, that's iron.
Recording in progress.
Yep. All right, that's good. I think it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, folks,
I always thought it was very funny that a lot of these organic teas are packed in plastic.
so I want to remind us all, we are still in public session. I believe we still have a quorum present. I can see a lot of folks on Zoom with their video turned off, so I can't see them, but I do see them on the list. We are now ready to move on to item number 8, which is an executive session. Do we have a motion to read into the record?
Yes, move that the Board of Commissioners of the Chittenden Solid Waste District go into executive session to discuss contract negotiations and legal matters where premature general public knowledge would clearly place the district, its member municipalities, and other public bodies or persons involved at a substantial disadvantage, and to permit the district executive director and CSWD attorneys and staff to be present for this session.
So move, South Burlington.
Seconded Essex.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we enter into executive session for contract negotiations and discussion of contract negotiations and legal matters. All those in favor of entering into executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? We'll now enter into executive session using the link that Sarah sent on Thursday, June 18th. So we'll see you over on that link, please. We are now back in public session. At the conclusion of our executive session, we do have some action items for the board to take action on this evening. And the first one of them, do we have a motion that can be read into the record?
Move the resolution presented to the board with a change in the first resolve to say, and at a variable rate of interest not to exceed 5.34% per annum for a term of approximately 7 years.
Wish to make that motion?
So moved Essex.
Second, Shelburne.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution with the change as noted. Is there any discussion? Yes?
I think we should make it clear that we're referring to the VHS contract. That's not mentioned in there. There are 2 proposals in there. So for the record, we should just clarify for anyone watching that this
It's actually for the Somerset Capital Group.
Somerset Capital.
For
sorry.
Somerset Capital Group to lease equipment for the new materials recycling facility.
I just want to make that.
Acceptable.
Okay.
Is that acceptable to the maker and seconder of them? Very good. Any discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we have another motion. Could you read that into the record, Sarah?
Yes. Be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners authorizes the Executive Director to enter into negotiations to result in a contractual agreement with Casella Recycling LLC of Rutland, Vermont for materials recycling facility operation as described in RFP number 20260126, inclusive of all addenda and the vendor's responses to such. The contract amount shall be established at not more than $110 per ton processing fee for year 1. The contract term shall not be less than 10 consecutive years and not exceed a total of 20 consecutive years.
So move, South Burlington.
Seconded Essex.
Thank you. The motion has been moved and seconded to enter into or to authorize the Executive Director to enter into negotiations with Casella Recycling LLC of Rutland. So discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? The motion carries.
Thank you.
And then one more motion, Sarah?
Be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners authorizes the Executive Director to enter into a contractual agreement with Casella Recycling LLC of Rutland, Vermont for purchase, brokerage, and/or marketing of recyclable services as described in RFP number 20260212, inclusive of all addenda and the vendor's responses to such. The contract amount shall be established at not more than $7 per ton of assorted materials marketed for year one. The contract will be issued for a period of 3 years, beginning on or about January 1, 2027, excuse me, with the option of 2 mutually agreed upon 1-year extensions.
So move South Burlington.
Second Jericho.
Thank you. The motion has been moved and seconded to authorize the Executive Director to enter into a contractual agreement with Casella Recycling LLC of Rutland, Vermont. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Very good. Thank you very much, everybody. And congratulations, Sarah, for the hard work and continuing work on this contract, these contracts.
This is very much a team effort.
We are now ready to move on to item number 9, which is other business. Is there any other business to bring before the board tonight?
Tom has something?
Yes, go ahead, Tom.
I have a quick question. Will the MRF project include solar energy facilities? And if not, would it be economical to add that in the future?
We couldn't afford it this outset, but potentially in the future. So we have constructed the building to be able to accept that load on the roof. So yes, it is a hope for down the road.
I'll also just add, Green Mountain Power has told us that they're at capacity for solar pushback, so they told us that they wouldn't have necessarily supported that project either. So, but certainly in the future they might be interested in that.
If there are no other business to bring before the board tonight, entertain a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn Essex.
All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions. We are now adjourned. Thank you all very much. Thank you, staff.
Thank you.